For more on Cuba's elections and why they're significant despite the sense that the outcome is predetermined, I spoke to Brian Becker, an analyst on Cuban affairs.
Well, you see, the Cuban population considers them significant because they're participating. Probably 90% of the population will participate. They were involved in the municipal elections. There they were contested elections. They're now engaged in provincial and parliamentary elections. The Cuban people have been widely involved from the grassroots level up, unlike the caricature of the process in the American media, which says that Cuba is just a gray totalitarian society. In fact, the Cuban people, millions of them, have been part of this process, and the high voter turnout shows there is a great deal of interest in the elections and in the formulation of the new government and the new policies.
I guess there is that perception, as you say, in the United States media, because we don't see this competition taking place at, say, party level, as we see here in the United States. In Cuba, it appears to be taking place at a much lower level, at a much more local level.
Much more local level, much more grassroots participation, and no money. I mean, frankly, here in America, we had $5 billion spent on the last presidential race. It took $2.5 billion to get elected president and $2.5 billion to lose winning for president. The Cuban race is different. The election there is different. The democracy there is different. But that doesn't mean it's not existent. You see a high level of participation from Cuban people at all levels, and they are encouraged to do so in terms of giving a critique of government policy and also helping to shape the way the country's future will undergo in the next period.
Okay, shaping the country's future. I guess that'll be an important thing for Cuba as we look ahead. What does this current crop of candidates coming in tell us about where that's going?
Well, it's very diverse. 48% of the people who will be part of the new parliament are women, compared to, say, in America, considered the vanguard of women's rights. Only 18% of the women, 18% of the Congress is women. 35% of the new parliament in Cuba will be black or mestizo. That means the composition, the racial composition is changing, and many, many young Cubans. Two-thirds of those going into the parliament will have never been in office before, so they're not old incumbents, they're a new generation.
So in a sense, we're looking at the future leadership of Cuba here, because if we look at the current leadership, Raul Castro and the people around him, they're going to be out of power very soon. They're in their 80s right now, so we have this young group that's now moving in.
That's certainly true. The people who led the Cuban Revolution and who, because of the prestige associated with their role in the revolution, they're now in their 70s or 80s or even older. We see that Cuba is going through the natural generational transition. I think the new parliament will reveal that.
Okay. I want to look at one candidate, and that is Raul Castro's daughter, Mariela, is also going to be in the National Assembly. She is seen as something of a, well, relatively speaking, a progressive in Cuba. She's seen to be on the liberal side of the party. What does that tell us about where Cuba is going?
Well, I think that we can see that there's a dynamic debate in Cuba, as in fact there has been for a long time, about how the country should go forward. She, like most of those who are young, are deeply loyal to the Cuban Revolution. They may have innovations, they may want some change in different social and political policies, but they're very loyal to the Cuban Revolution. And I think the transition in Cuba, which the American government hopes will lead to the overthrow of the Cuban Revolution, I think, in fact, it'll be somewhat smooth. There may be bumps here or there, but these people, the young people, are from the women's organizations and the community organizations and the trade unions and the farmers' organizations, and they have been, even with their young age, experienced leaders in Cuba.